Good evening, everyone. So welcome to Brimwood Farm. It's our Saturday night live stream. I've got a new light, so I'm hoping it's not going to glare me up too much, but I was a bit out of focus in the other videos, so I've got a bright light in my eyes, but hopefully it means you can see me a bit better. So firstly, a quick shout out to everybody that's new to the channel. I know last week we celebrated 1,000 subscribers, yeah! And now I think we're just shy of 1,060. So if you're here and you're new for the first time, then I basically run a tiny little urban smallholding. It's a backyard, it's about 45 square meters. And I'm passionate for ornamental plants, but I also like to try and grow a lot of own food. So I'm doing allotmenting, growing veggies. I've got chickens and quail that I'm raising for meat and poultry. And the dream is to move on to a big homestead in the future. So that is us in a nutshell. But welcome. So I'm going to give you a few updates. Now, if you were with the live stream last week, you know that sadly, Brianna Tarth, my hybrid hen, had to be because she got canker. And canker is a horrible disease, and I was really worried about the spread of canker in the rest of the flock. Well, fingers crossed, there is no more canker so far, and it's been, what, 8-9 days? There's a couple of reasons I think that she might have got it. It comes from pigeons, because 80% of pigeons actually carry this canker disease and they can survive it, but if you get it into a chicken, they get these tumours in their mouth and they can't survive it. So the number one reason I think was possibly their water bowl. Normally I give them their drinkers and their water inside the shed, but I'd got a bit lazy, and so if their water was empty I would bring it over to the gate, and then I'd go down and fill the watering can up and bring it back and fill it up, and then I'd just leave it open by the gate so they could drink out of it all day, and then I'd put it back in the shed. Possibly that's where something came from, so I've held my hands up. That was a bad thing to do, so the water is all now back in the shed. The other thing is they're actually on concrete, and the concrete has a bit of a dip, so when it rains the water pools in the middle. Now, if you keep chickens or any poultry or have dogs or cats or anything, you will know if you give them fresh water, no. They're not going to drink from fresh water. They're going to go and find the ickiest, horriblest, smelliest, stalest puddle they can find, and they're going to drink from that. And then they're going to roll in it, and then they're going to walk in it. And that's what the chickens were doing. So even if I was sluicing out the run a little bit in the morning after a rain, there was still like a little muddy pool in the middle, and they would go and drink from that. And then again, that could possibly be a source of infection. So what I've done now is, because it's all concrete apart from one little bit under the tree where they used to duff bathe, I've stolen this from Kat's edible garden actually. I have covered that piece of soil in a mesh, and I'm now sluicing all the water into there, and I'm going to plant like buckwheat seed and stuff in there so that it will grow up, and then when it comes through the wire, they'll be able to nibble off the grass, but they won't be able to get in there, and that will give me sort of a gully to put all that water into and make sure that they don't be drinking bad stuff. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I might be on top of this whole canker issue. I'm hoping that no more get it. We are not out of the woods because it can be a slow developer. It's not like a respiratory infection where one starts sneezing and then the next day everybody's sneezing. It can be a slow burn because it's a little parasite, it gets into them and it starts to cause a lesion. So you won't be able to see it until the lesions have actually started to grow quite dramatically. But fingers crossed. I was very stressed last week. I'm feeling a bit better about it this week, a bit more on top of it. We have just had a slight disaster though, because as you know, I've got some quail babies, and the quail babies are now 2 weeks old, and they're getting to the point where they jump. And they like to jump and they like to fly out of their little brooder, which is great, unless you have a gun dog that you're looking after. So we were sat here watching TV, there was a pop as a quail flew out. I thought, oh, I better get up and go and get it. Went over it. The Labrador had already got there. He didn't do anything harmful to it. He probably just picked it up in its mouth. But to a baby quail chick, that was enough to... So I'm afraid we just lost a quail chick. I've now covered them over completely. Lesson learned. No quail chicks around Labradors. So that was a bit sad. But we still have some left. And also it's hatching day tomorrow. So there might be 29 new quail babies. Tiny, tiny, tiny things. They're so small. They're literally this big. They're tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny. So, other updates. Are there any other updates? Oh yeah, so just the updates of the week. So Monday, I had my Monday Magic and my Euphorbia post. I love those plants. Euphorbias are so great and they're so easy to put in your garden. They grow really easily. Full sun, partial shade. They do really well. They have great foliage as well. So they can really pop up your ornamental border. Wednesday, we went to Essex. Well, I'm in Essex, but we went further up to Essex to see Amy and her battery hens. And then yesterday we did a farm tour, so Brimwood Farm tour. I know it's a long one, it was 20 minutes, but there was a lot to show you because there's obviously all the ornamental flower beds and things that I've done wrong and things that I've done right. And then there was the allotment and the veggie beds and the raised beds and the greenhouse and some chickens. So there's quite a lot to see. But yeah, I'm really happy with that Acer, that Japanese maple. It's come back really well, so I'm glad, you know, it was in the ground and it was dying, but lifting it and putting it in a pot in a sheltered position so I can monitor its water and feed has worked perfectly for it, so that's really, really good. So that's the quick roundup of updates for the week. Let's see who's here. So Kat, hi Kat, and Alana's here. Petra, hi Alfie. Welcome, glad to see you all. So Kat has said, what is Canker? Canker is a high active bros. Welcome back to the chat. So Canker is a disease. It's caused by a parasite. I didn't know anything about it until last week when this happened to poor little Brianna of Tarth. But apparently 80% of pigeons carry it. And they're kind of resistant, so they work through this, this canker disease. And they can have it and they can get better. But in chickens, what it causes is sort of lesions. So it causes lesions in the mouth and the throat, and also the digestive tract. So slowly your hen will lose condition, she'll stop laying eggs. And from everything that people have been saying, I mean, that you can get antibiotics and things from your vet to treat it, but from everything that people have been saying about it, it's actually really, really difficult to treat and to get a hen well again. And the problem is that whole time that she is ill and battling through it, she's infectious. So she could spread it to others through, I think it's passed through kind of the saliva. So if she's got a canker tumour in her mouth, she will then drink from the water, and there's possible that then the canker parasites or bacteria will go into the water, and then they might be picked up by other chickens. So that's what you've got to be really, really careful about. You know, the more and more I find out about all these chicken diseases, I just want to keep my chickens in entirely enclosed runs. It's scary. All these, you know, avian flu brought over by waterfowl, pigeons flying around giving canker. It's quite a scary thing. But I think we're over the worst of it. And luckily, obviously, Barry and his ladies, my Danvers and Eddie Ixworth and his ladies are all in separate runs, so they're all fine. And actually their runs are covered in tarps all year round just to keep it dry. Whereas the laying flock, those ladies, they're completely open. There's no netting or anything, so anything can fall in. Yeah, and Kat says, yeah, it's scary. It is scary, and that's the thing. But unless you know it, unless these diseases crop up, you never know they're around. So yeah, so I think we're not out of the woods, but we've only lost one hen to it. But all the hens are in molt at the moment. I don't know if any of you saw the Instagram post earlier this week. It might have even been yesterday. But I've currently got 29 hens. I got 4 eggs yesterday. 4 eggs. It's not very good. And at the moment, you know when they have a dust bath and then they sort of shudder out of it afterwards? It's like a cloud of feathers that comes out because they are all in a massive molt, and they're going to look gorgeous when they, you know, when they've replenished all their feathers, and they're going to look really lovely. But obviously during the molt, they're not laying very many eggs. Although my Moran, who has been broody all year long, has started laying. So she's laying tiny, tiny, deep brown eggs. I wish she was a bit bigger so I could have these larger brown eggs, because they're probably what? They're quite small. They're sort of bantam size, but they're really like dark. They contrast really nice to the pinkish and white eggs that I put in the boxes. So yeah, so this week's been quite good. Active Bro says, I had a rat eat 4 of my chicks in one night. Oh no! Rats are horrible. There was a rat in the garden a few weeks ago. My neighbour came around and warned me that she had rats. I know I have mice because of the chickens and the bird feed, but there were mice when we moved in here. So it's not just my chickens there, just around. But yeah, rats can be horrible things. I had a rat in my old house. I had a rat that was systematically coming into my aviary every night and eating my finches. Couldn't understand where my finches were going. You know, I had Java finches, zebra finches, canaries, all in a mixed aviary, and their numbers were just plummeting. And I found a rat behind one of the flights with a dead bird. It obviously run along the top of the aviary, gone inside, grabbed the bird, pulled it out, and killed it. And eaten half of it. So yeah, I don't like rats at all. There was a rat the other day. I encouraged my dog to grab it. She grabbed it. It squeaked. She let it go and backed off, and it ran away. But then my sister has just got guinea pigs, and so I thought maybe teaching my dog to catch and kill rats might not be the best idea, because guinea pigs, rats, they all look very, very similar, don't they? So that might not be a great idea. Alana's saying, yeah, I'm so glad we don't get rats. Perks of having a Jack Russell. Too right, huh? Jack Russells, Parsons Terriers and things like that. They're so good. They're great rat catchers. Wouldn't mind one of those in the future, actually, when we're up at the farm. It'd be pretty good to have one of those on site. The same reason I want to have a really nice big tomcat on the site, on the farm in the future, so we can catch all those mice. Brian's here. Hi, Brian. Welcome. Kat is saying, that's nice of her. My neighbour is a hoarder and his house and garden was full of rats. We could see them happily wandering around his garden in the middle of the day. Oh, that is grim. You know, I don't mind rats. I'm all for every single living creature, and I've known some nice pet rats, but it's just when they're running around in your garden, it's not very nice. And when they're, you know, mice, baby mice are quite cute. I think last year we had a mouse that kept coming into our bedroom, and I was lying awake, I think it was Saturday morning. I heard a little rustle, looked over, and there was this little mouse peeking out from under the cupboard. And I know they carry diseases, and I know I should have mouse traps down, and I do have mouse traps down. But it was really cute. And I didn't have the heart to do anything. But compared to a rat, ugh. And when I was young on my granddad's farm, he also used to have quail, which were another introduced species. And they're like a huge, huge rat. And my nan used to sit in the kitchen with the air rifle, trying to shoot these quail as they ran along the tops of the roofs, and they were bloody massive and grim. They were horrible things, like massive. Think of the biggest rat, and it's a horrible quail thing. Ugh. Yeah, so Active Rose is saying they also got his pigeons. So these rats got his pigeons, and he had to shoot them. And to be honest, shooting is one of the best ways. Shooting, or I mean, I don't like using dogs, but some dogs are trained to just do that. You can try rat traps, but they don't really work really well. I don't know if any of you watch the Weedham and Reap channel, but they've got a rat problem at the moment under their decking where they milk their goats, and they put some rat traps down, and the trap just was annihilated by the rat. The rat sort of had snared the trap, made it go off, and dragged it off, but it wasn't in the trap. It had just broken the trap completely. So they're not terribly great. Brian's saying he was having a brew by his small pond. I highly agree with brews. And a rat jumped out and caught me by surprise. I didn't wet myself, I spilt my tea. I'm not surprised. I think I'd have spilt my tea if a rat ran past me in the middle of the day. Was it the middle of the day? And this is the thing, I don't hate rats, but they carry diseases. And I don't know, I have this rosy idea that, you know, country rats are more refined and they don't have diseases so much because they're in the country. But town rats, you know, they're living off our waste. They're in our drains and our sewers, which isn't very nice. Marvin is saying, I have buddleia cuttings. When can I plant them out? They were taken 3 weeks ago. Have they got roots yet? The main thing is, don't take them out of your pot. If you've only just taken them and you've popped them in the pot, don't fiddle with them at all until you see roots coming out the bottom of the pot, because you might just, if you take them out too early, you can disturb that root growth and shock them, and then they'll die. So wait until that root growth comes out. As soon as you can see the root growth coming out the bottom of the pot, then you can take them out. Do you want to calm down? Io always wakes up at this time and he wants to go and have a little wicked way with his girlfriend. That's the budgies, by the way. Yeah, so when they're ready and you can see roots coming out of the pot, you can take them out, split them, put them on individually, and then grow them into bigger plants. And once they're bigger plants, then you can pop them outside into your garden. I don't know where in the world you are. If you're in a temperate zone and it's coming up to winter, I would keep them in pots through the winter rather than picking them out now. Because although they're completely hardy, they are only baby plants. So moving them from a really nice environment where they're cozy and warm and they're making roots straight outside when they're babies wouldn't do them any good. So I'd keep them in pots in a cold frame or whatever over winter and then put them out into the garden next year. I hope that's answered your question. Cats agreeing. Country rats are more refined. They are! They must be. They live in the country. They don't come they don't come across so many diseases, right? They're not, you know, they eat grain and insects and birds out the aviary, but they don't go rummaging through the rubbish. They probably do. But I have the same feeling about foxes. When I see foxes in the countryside, they're normally pretty beautiful foxes. And actually, even around here, because we're out of London, the foxes, and there's quite a lot of countryside around us, the foxes tend to be beautiful. Shining coats, proper white tip tails, lovely. The foxes in London, they just look manky. Really manky. And I used to feel sorry for them because you'd see, you know, this is the problem when people feed foxes or feed is easily available to foxes. You don't end up with a small population of really healthy foxes because the foxes having that food then breed. So you end up with a big population of really manky foxes, which is not good for anybody. So firstly, don't feed foxes because it's not good. But yeah, so country foxes always look better, in my opinion. But maybe that's just me being biased because I like the countryside. Active Bro says his Springer, if she catches the rat, she digs a hole and hides them. For later, a treat for later. A nice squelchy, half-decomposed rat. Ugh. And Kat's saying, I have a Patador Terrier. She's a great rat catcher. My Jack Russell is more like a Labrador and she is useless. Aww. I like Patador Terriers. Jack Russell, I thought Jack Russells were quite good rat catchers though. Maybe she just can't be bothered because of your Patador. She's just like, the Patador's going to go and get it. I'm just going to chill out, wait, watch. It's like TV, entertainment. But yeah, but obviously, as we've just found out, Labradors pick things up off the ground and accidentally kill them, like that poor little quail chick. Although this Labrador, okay, so this is a gun dog. This is a gun dog Labrador. Labradors, gun dogs, like used to being working dogs. This dog is ridiculous. He doesn't like bangs. We had an epic thunderstorm last night, and it just so happened that I'd just taken him out to go to the toilet about 10 PM. Massive crack of thunder, massive flash of lightning. He won't even leave the house today. So I've tried to take him out twice for a wee and for a poo. He won't even go out. He goes to the end of the driveway, sits down, won't go any further, and I'm literally having to drag him, and it's no good for anybody. So yeah, he's being a little bit annoying. But he goes home on Monday, so that's good. Alana's saying she has a pointer that likes to catch things and play with them. Yeah, they do like a play, don't they? I think the Jack Russell is kinder, to be honest. Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Those little terriers, they're kind of trained to just go in and kill, whereas a lot of other dogs, they don't really know what to do, so they just kind of pick them up and play with them. It's a bit like cats, isn't it? Unless they're hungry, they don't kill, they just play. And play and play. I remember my parents had Dachshunds when I was little, and those Dachshunds they're small dogs, right? They're sausage dogs, and they've got tiny legs, but they used to catch rabbits, and they caught some kittens once as well, my granddad's cabbage patch. So that was very Beatrix Potter, that they rushed into the cabbage patch and killed some kittens. But yeah, dogs can be lethal little things when there's little furry rodents going around, which is why, again, I'm not trying to train Bo to catch rats because I worry for my sister's guinea pigs. And she's not keen on Bo anyway because Bo, you know, Bo is quite a big, she's a stuffy Ridgeback cross, so she's quite big, she's scary looking, she's powerful. So taking my dog around to my sister's house and then it attacking and killing the guinea pigs wouldn't be a good thing. So, yeah. So there's not been a huge amount else going on this week. I haven't done a vast amount of gardening, I have to admit. I've had a tidy up midweek, and then I did the filming yesterday, obviously, for the summer tour. I'm happy with how everything's going, but as I said in the video, I'm going to have to rethink, especially some of my ornamental planting, because the board, so my garden is like this, and this side is shady, much shade. I thought it was partial shade. I actually think it's more, I think I was kidding myself. I think it's more dense shade. It just gets a bit of morning light. So I'm going to have a rethink of all the plants that I put in there, because the really hot sun plants, the sunny plants aren't really working at all. Some of the salvias and things are taking some partial shade, which is good. And they're flowering, and the dahlias, you know, should be in a really sunny spot, but they're in the partial shade and they're doing okay as well. But for next year, I'm going to have to really try and be inventive and find some sunny, no, not sunny, shady loving plants to pop in there, because things aren't working as well. And the other thing is, I need to have a little rethink about the vegetable patch as well, because again, it's shadier than I thought. So it's great for sort of lettuces and things which don't like it in the full sun, but it gets a lot of midday sun when the sun's really high. But we have a massive ash tree in my neighbour's garden, and that is kind of shading everything out. And I like it because it does give privacy for our upstairs bedrooms, but it's casting a lot of shade across the garden. And she has said I can attack it with, you know, a chainsaw or whatever. But yeah, so I may be lopping some branches off. The problem is it's right over my greenhouse, so I have visions of me going at it with the chainsaw and destroying the greenhouse by accident, or myself. And I'm excited. I have a chainsaw coming tomorrow, so this is my first chainsaw. I've been dithering all week about what chainsaw to buy. You know, you go online and you find all these reviews, and there's tons of positive reviews, and then you look and there's a few negative reviews. But I'm a bit pessimistic about online reviews, because I know that companies have been known to buy reviews in the past. So if I see bad reviews, I wonder then whether the good reviews might have been bought. So yeah, so I couldn't settle on a design, and there's some at like only 99 or 100, 120 £, and I'm just thinking maybe they're too cheap to be true. So in the end, I ended up going for a Makita. So it's a nice beginner's chainsaw. It's a Makita. It's due to come tomorrow, so I will show it. Kat's saying she bought a Stihl chainsaw. I know, but Stihl chainsaws are really expensive, right? Stihl was my go-to brand, and that was the thing I was going to think of. But I just couldn't afford it. So I've got a couple of Makita tools, and I've been happy with them. So it's coming tomorrow. It's not a brand new one. It's a buy good as new. So the box will probably be battered, but it probably won't have actually been used itself. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to test it out at the farm in a couple of weeks when we start doing some more pond work. Because that back pond, we're going to start taking everything down, cutting everything back from around the pond to open it up, clear away the trees before they drop all their leaves into the pond for another year. So I'm going to put it to the test and see how it goes. Having never used a chainsaw though, I've got to go and obviously get all the petrol and the mixing oil and see how all that works. Brian from the Allotment Life is saying it's not the reviews you need, it's the use for health and safety. Yeah, exactly. So, but online reviews are a good pointer of what's good and what people have found good and what people have found bad. But as I say, I don't necessarily trust them these days, because there is a lot of buying of reviews going on. And I know that when I've bought products in the past, when I've got my product, I've been emailed by the company saying, oh, please send us, you know, please give us a good review. And if there's been a fault and I've sent it back, then they'll send me a new one and they'll say, oh, please amend your review if we send you a new one. So there's a lot of that going on. So, but I think the Makita is good, kind of a good brand name. It should arrive tomorrow, so I can unbox it and have a look. And then I've got all the personal safety stuff already, because I bought a really nice little battery chainsaw from Aldi last year, from Aldi. So it's a pole chainsaw. So it's on maybe like a 6-foot pole, and the chainsaw's on the end, and it's little. It's probably, the blade's probably only what, this, but it's good for reaching those high branches, just doing a little bit of tree pruning and stuff. So I bought everything back then. It's actually, you might have seen it in one of the farm vlogs at the beginning of the year in March. I was using it back then to clear away some blackthorn. It's a really, really good little machine. And I think Aldi, today I was in Aldi and they did have some garden tools in. So I don't know whether it's up there again on offer. As I say, it's only £60 and it's a good little tool. The only thing is the battery doesn't last that long. I think the battery lasted about an hour. Which is great if you're just doing stuff in your back garden. But when you're away, you know, you're on a site that's away and hasn't got any power, it's a bit of a pain, which is why I've opted to get a petrol chainsaw. Yeah, so Brian said I've always rated Aldi products. I know, they are really, really good actually. I think the brand is Bloom. Is it Bloom and Grow or something like that? But a lot of I've got quite a few tools in Aldi, and you kind of think, oh, I'm being cheap and I'm buying these cheap tools, but actually sometimes the cheap tools work. And I've had more expensive tools that just haven't done the job. Got an external hard drive from Aldi and it's over 5 years old. Yeah, see, they last. Things do last from Aldi. And I do quite like Aldi. The only thing is, and this is for food actually, I use Aldi quite a lot because there's one quite near us. But we don't buy a lot of meat there because we eat a lot of chicken and quail because we have that ourselves. But Aldi do a lot of cheap pork, but we don't eat pork in this house. So that doesn't do me a lot of favours. So I need to find another place for cheap meat. Although cheap meat, then you get into the whole dilemma of it's cheap meat because it's not been looked after properly. So which is why I mostly just eat chicken and quail, because that's what I've bred and grown here in the backyard, which is quite good. Which reminds me, I have actually got a cull coming up. So I've got 7 roosters. They were from the Chick Check series that I did. There's 3 eggs worth, and they've come to quite a good size now. They're nowhere near crowing yet, so I'm going to let them grow on for a little bit longer, maybe a couple of weeks. I'll probably do them at the end of September. And then I've got a few silky down the cross boys as well. Now they're not going to sell because they're hybrids, so nobody's going to buy them to breed with them. So they are to be culled and eaten, but they're quite small. And there's two things with small chickens. There's not a lot of meat on them, obviously, but also it's the length of time it takes to pluck and then prepare them. Because with a big I've got big hands. So with a big chicken, you can get your hand into the cavity and you can pull everything out. The problem with small chickens is you can't. And I'm there like with 2 fingers trying to get these fingers up and scrape everything out from inside. And it takes forever. So with these small chickens, we are going to do them like quail. We're going to skin them so we don't have to pluck them, just literally skin them, gut them, and have them like quail. Alana is saying, would you be able to do a culling video? Release one that needs to go. Yeah, I can do a culling video. The thing is, I don't particularly like culling. It's not a nice thing to do. But I could show you the technique I use, which is the broomstick method. I could show you that in the video. It's quick, it's easy, you know they're dead. I have done a plucking video, so if you want some ideas of how to quickly pluck your birds, I have done one of those, because obviously it depends on what you eat. I think basically in that video there's a few tips, i.e. use hot water, don't try and dry pluck because it takes forever, and there are certain feathers you might not need to take off. So we don't really eat the wings in this house, so I don't bother taking all the wings off, all the wing feathers off, because I'm just going to snip those off because we don't really like it. The parson's nose at the end of the bird. Who eats the parson's nose? I don't know anybody that eats the parson's nose. So again, you could just cut it off when you're butchering your bird and getting it ready. So you don't need to take those tail feathers out. And then the same with the neck as well. It depends where you're taking the skin on the neck down from. You don't need to take all the feathers off the neck if you know you're going to be taking them off. So just look up that plucking video, but I'll think about doing a cull video as well. So Kat's saying, do you dispatch your own birds or send them to Avatar? I dispatch them myself. Because for chickens, you know, the cost, by the time you've paid for costs of going to an abattoir, Obviously, in the future, it's going to be an abattoir for anything bigger. But for poultry, I do myself. Active Bros is saying, I made a mistake of putting mint in my veggie patch and it is near grass and it's spread into the grass and now I can't get rid of it. That is the problem with mint. I tend to put mint in any bed, wherever I plant it, I put it in a pot so that it stays contained in the pot. And then if it does manage to get down and send runners right underneath the pot, it's easier still to take them out. As for getting into the lawn, I honestly think the only way you're going to get rid of it is to dig up the turf that it's in and relay. Because once mint gets in, it's like a lot of plants, bindweed, couch grass, and it needs the tiniest root and it will survive and just keep growing. Alana's saying, mine will be going for snake food, yeah, because you don't eat meat, do you? So plucking and praying, isn't it? Shoot, yeah. I just rather dispatch first rather than feeding live. How big are you doing? Because you're not going to be feeding a whole chicken to the snake, are you? Or how big is your snake? That's the question. I mean, maybe you are feeding a whole chicken. I mean, with little chicks, it's easy. Snip the head off. With anything like quail size, again, sharp pair of succotaurs, snip the head off. That is, you know, the head's not on the bird. It's dead. Bigger chickens, obviously I use the broomstick method. 100 to 200 grams in weight. You have dwarf boas. Wow, that's pretty cool. Can you post a picture of them on the Brimwood Farm community page? Because I'd love to see them. I would really, really love to see them. I mean, I know it's not technically homesteading, but, you know, not everything is homesteading. And so I'd like to see both. And also, I sort of categorise anything that you keep on the homestead as potential homesteading. Like, I obviously keep zebra finches and budgies and cockatiels. Now, they're not a homestead animal, really. But you can sell the babies, and then you can make that extra revenue stream. So, you know, and lots of people keep dogs and have puppies or kittens, and they have that as an extra revenue stream for their homestead or their smallholding or whatever as well. So I want to see pictures of boas, because I like them. We have dart frogs as well. I don't know whether I've said that before, but we haven't managed to get them to breed. I don't think we've got foggers, we've got misters, we've got all sorts, but we've never managed to get them to breed. So who knows? We know we've got males and females. We have one lot of eggs from one of the tricoloured dart frogs. And we've had calling from the Marinon dart frogs, but no eggs. So we'll see. But yeah, that, and actually, as I mentioned that, the Brimwood Farm community page, if you are a Facebook person and you use Facebook, please head on over, join. It's called Brimwood Farms Community Group. Just apply to join, I'll let you in, and we just talk everything sort of, there's a lot of chicken chat at the moment, but we talk a lot of things about homesteading, smallholding, preserving, growing, that sort of thing. So head on over if you are on Facebook. Brian is saying, still thinking about keeping Rhode Island Reds when I retire with a cockerel, this time with a magazine down the back of my trousers. Yeah, you might need a magazine just to swat them out the way now and then. But Rhode Island Reds are really nice birds. They really are. And the cockerels are stunning. They really are. And they're big, meaty birds, which is great as well. Yeah, well, yeah, and yeah, exactly, Brian. He's saying they can be nasty buggers when you collect eggs. All roosters can be. I had a Poland rooster that I actually had to cull over this past winter because we had the avian flu, so they were in lockdown, and he just got grumpy as hell. And every time I made my life miserable because every time I went down to hang out with them, I just got attacked, and I had to constantly be aware of where he was. So in the end, I made the decision to cull him, and now life is back to harmony, and I can go down there and hang out with the hens and not be attacked, which is rather marvellous. And actually, I dispatched another 2 cockerels later this year as well because of the crowing competitions that were going on. So there's just 1 cockerel in there now, a frizzle Poland cockerel. Life is harmonious, it's lovely. And all the girls, I hadn't realised how much damage cockerels do to their girls, but these 3 cockerels, they had 19 hens, there were 3 cockerels, but they were obviously competing. There was one top boy that got to have his wicked way with everybody, and then I think the other two were running in and grabbing the hens wherever they could, and grabbing meant pulling feathers out. So a lot of the hens looked horrible and bald and patchy. So they're all growing at back now, which is really, really nice to see. Brian's saying he'll think he'll call the cock Barry for the hell of it. Yes! Barry the cock rules rule the world. I'm really excited. I've still got those 5 silky babies, and they are showing small signs of toastiness. So fingers crossed we get some toasty marshmallow babies. Active Rose is saying my roosters are peaceful. Oh, that's lucky. How many have you got? Because most of my... Do you know what I find? I find that the larger fowl roosters are not as bad as the bantam fowl roosters. Barry is horrible. When I've got him and I'm cuddling him at night, he's fine. If I go anywhere near the coop when he's protecting his women, he's mean as hell. And Skeksis is my Poland cockerel. He's alright because he's just scared because he's been scared of the other cockerels in there. But the other cockerels that used to attack me were Poland cockerels. So they're more of a bantamy breed as well. Eddie, who is my Ixworth and my large fowl, the most docile rooster I've ever come across. He likes a cuddle, he likes to be picked up. He was in my chicken check video, so the first chicken check-in I ever did. He was featured in that. Lovely cockerel. And I have heard that some of the bigger roosters can be calmer than some of the smaller roosters who get a bit like antsy. And actually, yeah, my Danver roosters, I've got one Danver rooster that's really nice, and I've got one Danver rooster who is a tearaway. He'll run after you down the garden. He'll run after the dogs, he'll run after me, he'll run after my husband, he'll run after everybody and just try to attack us. Small cockerel syndrome. So, Dip has got 1 Seabright, 1 Pekin, 1 Light Sussex, 2 Leghorn. You've got a lot of nice cockerels. I'm a bit jealous. So Alana is saying, just wondering, roughly what age do your cockerels start crowing? Well, obviously, puberty hits them at different times. I have had my Poland roosters crow as early as 3 months, so 12 weeks. But I've got my Ixworth birds out there, my Ixworth roosters. They are now, well, they were from Chick Check. So are they now 4 or 5 months old and not a peep? So I think it depends on the breed. Depends, you know, I'm guessing maybe the larger fowl. I know Ixworth have a slower growth rate, and so they mature more slowly, so maybe that's why the crowing comes later. So I think it all really depends. And you can have it depends as well on the individual. So you can have a cockerel that has no hackles, has no saddle feathers, doesn't even have a proper comb yet, and he's crowing. Or you can have a cockerel that comes completely out, he looks beautiful, he's got his hackles, his saddles, his comb, his wattles, quiet as a mouse, and then he'll just randomly start crowing after, you know, a year. I did have one like that. I thought it was actually a hen. I thought this poor cockerel had a bit of a identity issue because he didn't really know what it was. And then it grew into a beautiful cockerel, beautiful looking cockerel, but not a peep. And then after a year, started crowing like crazy. And I'm afraid, growing like crazy meant there's a lot of going on tonight. I'm afraid that's part of the business of chicken keeping and hatching. Not chicken keeping, because you know you're going to keep hens, but if you're keeping cockerels, good for meat. Brian's saying he loves the sound of the cock crow. I like the sound of cockerels crowing, don't get me wrong, but I don't like it at 4 AM in the morning, and I don't like it when I've got, well, earlier this year when I had 8 cockerels doing the rounds. And I would sit here and I would count, and I think I had an average of 5 seconds between each crow. So, you know, and a crow goes on for a while before it fades out. And then another one would start, and they do the rounds. So they each crow, and because they're in different parts of the garden with their own little flocks, they were having a conversation. I don't know whether it was a dominance thing or whether it was saying, I'm here with my birds, leave me alone. You know, and then the next lot would start, but it would do the rounds. And it would drive me bonkers. So and I have to be wary of my neighbours because they're only going to take so much crowing and noise from me before they start moaning. So I have to be a bit careful. But I can't wait to be on the farm when I don't have to shut the cockerels away at night and they can crow in the morning and it'll be lovely. Brian's like, won't bother me, the plot's a mile away from home. Yeah, but is that a mile away from everybody else's home? That's the other issue. We have an allotments near here and they keep chickens, but they have so much problems with the local neighbours that whenever he hatches chickens out, he can never keep a rooster because the neighbours there, they complain to the local council immediately at the sign of the first crow, and then he has to cull them all. So I regard myself as quite lucky with the neighbours I've got. Alana's saying, years ago I lived in a mobile home and our cockerel used to sit underneath the bedroom and crow until we got up and fed them all. Oh, that is pretty funny. I like that. And that's, yeah, I can imagine, you know, they say chickens are dumb. They're not dumb. He knew that was your bedroom and he knew what was going to happen. So, good tip on him. Get a no crow. What's a no crow? And Brian says, oh, his allotment's in a park. Oh, that's cool. So it's actually in the middle of the park and surrounded. That's really, really cool. And a good idea, actually. Do you have problems with break-ins, though? Because I can imagine maybe it's so hidden away people don't know it's there. So Alana is saying, we can't keep cockerels here, but if we move house before mine start crowing, then maybe I'll keep a couple. Yeah, you should. That'd be nice. It would be nice, wouldn't it? Is moving imminent? And if not, just go and have a stern talking to them and tell them not to start crowing yet. Just explain the situation to them. And say, guys, if you start crowing, if you hold off, you can come with. So Brian is, yeah, he's saying there's lots of break-ins. I know, it's really upsetting, isn't it? People just break in for any old reason. You know, down the allotment, when I used to have an allotment, people would break in and steal food. There was one time somebody broke in, they must have spent hours there overnight. They took somebody's entire potato crop. They just dug them up and took them. They didn't even break into the shed to take the tools. They took the potatoes. I mean, how much is a potato worth? And you kind of feel in that situation, if they were that in desperate need of food, I don't totally begrudge them taking potatoes, but they could have at least taken potatoes from each plot, one plant, rather than somebody's entire crop. So Brian's using a Josterberry bush. Good plan. Sharp needles. That keeps burglars away. That does a good job. Active Bro says, oh, so no crows are like dog collars that keeps them silent. I do have some crow collars, and they're not called no crow. They're just called like what are they called? Cock collars or something like that. And they were like a Velcro strip that goes round. They didn't stop them crowing. They just reduced and muffled the sound. I don't have any on at the moment because I did lose my Iron Samani and he had a crow collar on, and I was just a bit concerned it might have been the crow collar that freaked him in the middle of the night maybe, and I don't know what happened. It might have not been that at all. And I know many people that use them and I've never had an issue. But mine, honestly, because I bring my boys in at night and I put them in blackout boxes, I leave one cockerel outside down in the coop, and he's so quiet anyway. His crow is ridiculously quiet. No, I'm lying. Skeksis does have an anti-crow collar, so his crow is quiet because it's muffled. So that doesn't wake anybody up, so he's just allowed to stay down there. Brian says, my whole potato crop was lifted at 6 weeks. So it happened to you as well? Why would people come in and take an entire potato crop? I don't get it. I mean, potatoes aren't expensive to buy. And why take an entire crop? Like, I don't get it. But then I guess we're not the burglaring? We're not that kind of I don't know whether I've just made up a word. Burglaring? We're not that kind of people, I guess. Yeah, so it is pure vandalism. And well, it's like when the burglars came here as well. Obviously, the first time they came to see what they could get. The second time they came to give us a middle finger up at us and just smash everything up, which they did. They smashed all the lights up, they smashed all the security lights up, they smashed all the locks up, they smashed in the door, they killed a couple of birds. And there was no they didn't take anything. That was just purely vandalism to say, you know, you might have a house in there, but we can come in and we can do damage. Horrible people, really. My dog's just curling up on the sofa. She's not amused because today it has been a wash all the pillows and the cushions and the rug kind of day. So she's on the hard floor. She's not really liking it. So how's everybody's week been? What have you all been up to in your gardens? Brian, so 3 times he almost caught the invaders and he was cautioned by the allotment committee for his own safety. Well, I don't really have anything to say to that because I'd be a bit the same, you know. I'd be down there waiting for trying to catch them out, which probably is not the best idea. Well, unless you know you've got a spade ready. But yeah, I can see why. Active rows, someone stole carrots, not the chickens and the pigeons. See, it's weird. People stealing food. So Kat, you've been on a caterpillar patrol every day. I hope your chickens are getting those caterpillars. What are they? Are they cabbage whites? Because even though I've netted the kale, I have noticed, well, there was actually a cabbage white inside the netting the other day. It didn't last long because it couldn't get away from me. So I went and grabbed it and I fed it to Barry, in fact. But yeah, I have got a few cabbage white caterpillars with that kale. I know, I haven't had them this year, but I know a couple of people that have had tomato hornworm. Now, I didn't even know tomato hornworm was a thing in the UK, but it apparently is. Cat's edible garden, yeah, not the good. Oh yeah, so yeah, I found that as well. So there are 2 types of caterpillar. There's the great cabbage white, and the small cabbage white. And the great cabbage white are the black and the yellowy ones. And my chickens won't touch them either. Won't touch them. I think they obviously have that coloration for a reason, and it's probably to put predators off, isn't it? Like you get red insects and things, and it puts predators off. It's like I took some photos when I was last up at the farm, so I was doing some bug ID today, and one of the bugs I've got up there are cinnabar moths, which have the cinnabar caterpillars on ragwort, and they're bright yellow and black. Nothing will touch them because ragwort is a little bit toxic, and B, they have such sort of warning colours, nothing touches them. So Alana is saying she had, so yes, I saw this on the Brimwood Farm community group. Alana says, I had the tomato disaster in my garden. She's frozen 2.5 kilograms of green tomatoes and has another 1.3 kilograms of green tomatoes for chutney, and probably another 1.5 to 2 kilograms of ripe ones. You've got quite a tomato hoard because it's not been a great year for tomatoes. So even though you've pulled them because you had that blight, I think that's a really, really great hoard, especially if you can turn it all into chutneys and things. Be awesome. And Kat is just adding to those the big cabbage white, the large cabbage white caterpillars. They spit out some green gunk when you pick them up. I know, it's not very nice. I used to remember they get parasitized really easily though. So there's a certain parasitic wasp that really likes to parasitize them. I haven't actually seen it so much these days, but when my granddad was a huge cabbage grower. He would have rows and rows and rows of cabbages, but obviously then he would have a ton of cabbage white caterpillars. But they would get massive and you would see them crawling up the edge of the farmhouse because they were off to be paid, and then they would erupt because there was this parasitic wasp that would come and lay its little parasites inside it, and then the skin would split open and they'd have all these tiny little yellow cocoons which would then hatch into parasitic wasps. Now I haven't seen those over the past few years. I don't know whether it's the area, I don't know whether maybe that parasitic wasp has declined, but it'd be interesting when I'm living back up at the farm and possibly growing cabbages again, whether those parasitic wasps are still numerous enough to have that effect, because it was really interesting. And that kind of got me into my kind of little fascination of bugs. I do like a good bug, and I posted a couple of bugs today on the Brimwood Farm page on Facebook because I was IDing some bugs, and we found a cinnamon bug, which is really cool, and a false blister beetle, which is this amazing little long thin beetle with iridescent wings cases. There's a couple of pictures so you can go and take a look when you've got some time. And Alana is saying she didn't have any pests on the tomatoes this year. We've had barely any aphids. Barely any aphids. I want you to come and live near me if you've got no aphids, because we've got tons. We've got tons of aphids and we've hardly got any ladybirds. And that is the thing that I've noticed moving out of London. In London, there are thousands of ladybirds. Most of them, sadly, are the harlequin ladybirds. So those are the invaders from Asia that actually, when there are no aphids around, it will eat our native ladybird larvae. But there were tons of them, and there are hardly any aphids because obviously they eat them all. Out here, so I'm only 30 minutes drive away, down in Essex, down in Grays, hardly any ladybirds, and none of those harlequin ladybirds. And it's a really noticeable difference, and as a result, tons of aphids. You might have seen the video I did earlier in the year about the hoverflies, and I was so happy to see these hoverfly larvae because there really are hardly any ladybird aphids around, but there are some lacewings and there are quite a lot of hoverfly, so I've been counting on those. So Brian, did you know the wasp is a cannibalistic bee? It chops up the likes of caterpillars when it eats them. I know. Insects are pretty cool. And somewhat, I mean, I don't really like wasps, especially the main common wasp, because my dad is highly allergic to them and goes into anaphylactic shock. But actually, wasps do a great job at destroying a lot of insects. Yes, we have had a lot of slugs as well, Alana. Although not so, actually, I lie. There are tons of slugs in my garden, but most of them are leopard slugs, which are good slugs. So leopard slugs actually eat other slugs. So I don't have a massive problem with slugs here because I have thousands of leopard slugs. What leopard slugs eat when they've eaten everything else, I'm not entirely sure. Do they eat each other, their babies? But I don't have, you know, I haven't had crops destroyed by slugs, which was a thing in London. In my allotment in London, you turn your back for 5 minutes, slugs. Here, not so much. Brian says, wasps are really bees with bowler hats and wear string vests. I've never heard that before. That's really, really funny. It is, isn't it? Although, what did you say? They're bees with bowler hats and wear string vests. Although they're a bit more lethal because they don't lose their sting when they sting you, so they can sting you time and time and time and time and time again. They're like a bouncer, aren't they? They can keep going. And Alana's saying she had loads of hoverflies and lacewings. So yeah, so maybe that's what kept your aphid population down. I mean, the aphids have been really, really bad here. I've been spraying the dahlias today with just soapy liquid to try and get rid of some of them. They don't seem to like the dark-leaved dahlias so much, the dark-leaved and the dark stems, but the green-leaved and green-stemmed dahlias, they really seem to like, and the ants farm them as well, which is bad, because they're obviously producing all this nice honeydew for the ants. So that's been quite bad this year. I should have taken a note last year of how many aphids I had. I don't think the aphid issue has been as bad this year as it was last year, but certainly there aren't as many predators, it seems, out here. So that's been a slight issue. Oh, and Alana also says her university tutor is a ladybird expert. I like people that are into bugs. I've been on several bug forums today trying to ID, and you know, I go onto websites to try and ID these bugs, and I spent hours just flicking through pictures and pictures and pictures. I went on Facebook, joined a bug group, posted a picture. 2 minutes later, I had no answer. It shows the community of the internet. When you know where to go and you know who to ask, you can get your answers instantly. And they were right, because as soon as they told me what it was, I went then and Googled that name, and that was the bug. So it's really, really good. I do like that kind of thing. And Brian's saying, what's noticed this year is the amount of mosquito larvae is still in still water ponds. We've had quite a lot of mosquitoes here as well. In fact, I don't know how they got into my water butt. My water butt has a lid, but they obviously got in and they bred, and there were loads of larvae in there. So there was a big time where I couldn't even take the lid off because I made the mistake of doing that once. And this wave of mosquitoes, God knows how long they've been in there waiting to come out. They just billowed out like some thing out of a horror film. And then Sard keeps like a big collection of Sarracenias and sundews and Venus flytraps, and he has them, the bog gardens, around a central kind of water dish that you might have seen. But we've actually had to have that empty most of the year because, again, because it's just a water dish with a couple of reed plants in it, it becomes stagnant, and we've had a lot of mosquitoes in that as well. And actually, even worse, it's actually at this side of the house, and so the mosquitoes fly straight up in the bedroom window and start sucking my blood. So yeah, we've had quite a lot of bad mosquitoes. My parents did as well, actually, up in Suffolk, but they got a couple of fish to put into their pond, and that sorted the issue. And that's what I used to do in South Woodford as well. I had a tiny pond that was sunk into the ground, just like a big pot without a hole in the bottom, and that would get stagnant, but I just got a couple of goldfish, and they used to keep it under control. And I know people that keep goldfish in there. They don't keep the top on their water barrel. They just take it off, put some mesh across, and keep a couple of fish in there. Because the fish don't, when you empty it out of water, the fish don't come out the bottom. So it's worked quite well in some cases. Yeah, we need the frogs to eat them, don't we? And I think you might be right. That warm spell at the beginning of the year really helped them all out. Although it was very dry, so I don't know, but maybe that's why, because it was so dry, they had to seek out the smaller, staler ponds maybe to lay their eggs in, and that's why we had this influx of mosquitoes. Alana's saying we had rat-tailed maggots in an old paddling pool. They are disgusting. Yeah, I know. I found some today as well, and this is the thing. There's a lot of larvae out there that are properly disgusting. Like the hoverfly larvae is disgusting. It looks like a big bogey walking, like squidging its way along a leaf. It really does. And these rat-tailed maggots as well. As a larva, they are disgusting. You just want to pop them because they're like this squidgy thing with this tail. Oh, they're horrible. But they actually pupate into a very beneficial insect. So it's definitely worth knowing what's good and what's bad, because I've spent years killing those things. And today I found a load when I squished out the bottom of a bucket which had some chicken poo in, and I found loads. So I actually rescued them and put them into another bucket of water because I didn't want them to die, because they hatch out into good stuff. So yeah, so for many years I've been squishing hoverfly larvae bogies, and I've been squishing rat-tailed maggots when I should have been leaving them. So maybe that's why I've got so many aphids. Oh, so Brian's saying nothing looks worse than a ladybird larvae. I like ladybird larvae. I think they look like little armoured tanks. You know, because they're like, and they're black and they're yellow. They look like little tanks. I like them. I learned that at a very early age. I remember going with my godmother, and we'd found some in the grass outside the church, my dad's church, and we ID'd them. So I've known for a long time about ladybird larvae, but not so much other stuff. So I've been trying to swat up, because every time I go to the farm, I'm trying to do a biodiversity list. So I'm trying to find what's there and note it down and keep a really good record of what I'm seeing. So I'm the big stuff, obviously you see a bird you can ID it, you see a rabbit or a hare you can ID it, but the bugs and the stuff, there's thousands of bugs and they're all very slightly different from each other. So I've been trying to learn about all these bugs. Yeah, Alana says rat-tailed maggots look much worse than any ladybird larvae. I agree. Ladybird larvae are beautiful. They are. Although as we know, the harlequin ladybird larvae will eat the native British ladybird larvae, so they're not always great. But to be honest, any insect that eats aphids, in my books, is good. And biologists are basically saying that the Asian harlequin ladybird is over here for good now. There's no eradicating it. We're not going to get rid of it. It's spread too fast. So it's just a case of management. So I just say leave them to it. Let them do their thing. And where you can, promote the beneficial insects. Oh, Robert from Daybird Aviaries is here. Hello, friends. How are you? You've just arrived, and I'm just about to sign off because we're almost at an hour. But I know it is late. Oh no, it's late for us. It's what, almost 11, but it's early for you guys over in the States. But welcome, and thank you for quickly stopping by. I appreciate it. How are your macaws setting in? Robert just got a beautiful pair of new macaws. I can't remember exactly the type. and he made up some cages for them, and he's going to breed them in the future. They look wonderful. They're beautiful birds. Brian, should be 2 hours long. This live stream should be 2 hours. I mean, we can go over the hour. I don't mind if there are people here. So, so they're, so Robert's saying they're military macaws. I highly recommend you pop across to Robert's channel and take a look at them. They're really, really beautiful birds. And he's got tons of them. Basically, Robert has my dream as a child. If I was one of your kids, I would be in 7th heaven, because he has lorries and grey parrots and budgies and chickens and macaws. It's wonderful. I would absolutely love it. So has anybody got any other questions or chats? Or anything they just randomly want us to talk about? Brian said he'll join me on that dream. Yeah, it's wonderful. I would love to have a space like that. And I do hope to build some aviaries at the farm. I want to have some walkthrough. I'm more into the smaller birds, so the finches. I like Australian finches, but I like some parakeets. But they're, as you know, Robert, they're very loud. Even my cockatiels do my head in. So, dozens of macaws and lorikeets. It's a lot of work and a lot of noise. But I would like to build some walk-through aviaries to keep my Australian finches in. And then obviously Sard wants to breed ornamental pheasants, so we're going to have quite a lot of pheasant aviaries as well. Just some, Amherst pheasant, golden pheasants, but also some more rare breeds like the tragopans and things like that. So it should be nice. Brian's saying, I'm afraid I would need a lottery win for what I'd love to do. I know. Don't we all? Don't we all? I mean, I am serious. I'm lucky. I am seriously lucky that my granddad was a farmer and that the farmland is still in our family and it's there for me to use. But still, I still need to earn and make a hell of a lot of money even to realise the dream of just getting there. Just to build a house and live on the land. I still need a hell of a lot. So that's the thing. That's the problem these days. Even if you want to live a simple, humble life, you often need a lot of money to get there in the first place, which seems ridiculous. Oh, so Robert also has finches. Yes, please film your finches. I used to have Java finches. I loved them. Or Java sparrows. I loved them. But again, we were talking about rats earlier. The rats got them. The rats almost decimated my entire aviary flock. They got my Bengalese. They got my diamond finches. They got my orange sheep waxbills. Some of my zebs. All of my my Java rice finches. Horrible blasted things. Oh, so Alana has a temperate snake species. That's cool. What are temperate snake species? Do you mean like corn snakes? I don't really know snakes. Can you tell? Yeah, so I'd like to again, post pictures, please. Post pictures on the Facebook group because I'd love to see them. And Robert, please do a video on some of your finches because again, I'd love to see them. I'm just a bit animal mad. I mean, I know I'm into this homesteading, smallholding stuff and being self-sufficient and growing domesticated animals or agricultural animals, cows and sheep and stuff for food. But I also just love pets. I love pets. Anything. Brian had 2 Java sparrows for a few years. Your daughter accidentally let them out of the aviary. Oh, that's such a pity. My mum accidentally let my diamond doves out of the aviary, but I'm thinking it might have not been an accident because of the noise they make. Although I'll never get her to admit that. I know, and it's Robert saying he loves them all, and I agree, and it's really hard to stop. When I moved here, I was very steadfast in not keeping tons of animals in the house, having the shed for and the aviary for the birds, having a few chickens, and that was it. Just while we were here until we moved. Well, look how that's turned out. There's almost 50 chickens and quails. There's an aviary full of zebra finches. Although I didn't want pets in the house, we obviously have the dogs, but we've got 2 vivariums of dart frogs. We've got the cockatiels, and we've got 2 cages of budgies. So it hasn't worked very well, and I'm not very good at disciplining myself when it comes to pets. And my sister wants me to get another guinea pig for her at one of these poultry auctions, because they do sell these guinea pigs sometimes. But I know that I'm going to, and if I buy a guinea pig for her, I will end up with guinea pigs for myself. So Alana is saying, okay, so temperate snakes, corn snakes, hognose snakes. The North American hibernate over winter. They need supplemental heat during the summer, but it would be great for them to have natural light and more space. Yeah, that'd be really cool actually. I'd be interested in seeing like an outdoor area for temperate snakes. Because, you know, I've seen some videos on YouTube of snake keepers where they literally just keep them in boxes. They have rows and rows and rows, like a filing cabinet system, and they just have a snake in each box. And I just think how, yeah, okay, you've got a collection of snakes, but surely that's just not very nice. I don't really understand. If I've kept an animal, I want to keep it in as an enriched environment as possible. So, not in a plastic box in a filing cabinet. I find that odd. And Brian says he had to stop keeping birds when I found rats getting in the aviary. I know. Rats, bane of our lives. They kill so many things, and if they can get up those perches to get those birds, they will, and they'll just kill them. They're horrible little buggers. Alana is saying, yeah, I don't do boxes. They're pets, not collectibles. I like live plants, natural substrates, etc. Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. Because you want to... And I like natural history. I love natural history. I love David Attenborough. I love all of that stuff. So I want to see animals in a natural habitat. Like when I've got more room, and when hopefully with the farm, I actually want to try quail breeding, because a lot of people say you can't make quails broody, but I know people that have, and they have basically big runs, and they put a pair in, and the pair will nest. They will revert to their natural breeding behaviour if you can give them an enriched environment and a natural environment. So I really want to try that in the future as well. I mean, it won't probably be economical in terms of rearing quails and things for hatching and eating, but I would like to try it just to see how it goes. And that's the whole kind of part of the conservation aspects on the farm as well, is to do all the conservation to bring more species and biodiversity in, which is why we've got the owl boxes and the wildflower meadow and the bluebell wood, and we're going to start doing the pond in a couple of weeks with the new chainsaw, which I'm really excited about. Although, you know, I might turn up in one of these live streams missing an arm. I'll try not to kill myself. Yes, so Alana's also heard that quail will pair off, and they will, given the right habitat, they will. And there's another channel I follow. She's in, I can't remember the name of her channel, Pavlova Fowl, something like that. She's in France, and she has a massive run for her quail, and it's all planted up. And she often gets her quails to go broody and to accept chicks and hatch eggs. So it is doable. I think you just have to persevere. So Robert is saying he's had button quail hatch and raise their own babies in a planted aviary. That is so cool. See, so it can be done. Because again, I heard that even with button quail, that wouldn't work. I need to get a new hen. My poor male button quail has been on his own for a year now. I don't know how the hen died. There was a little harem of them at one point. There was him, and then there was 5 girls, and the girls just died. You know, there was an accident here and an accident there, and one got an illness or whatever. But I must go and get him a hen, because he lives very happily in the bottom of the aviary with the Japanese quail, but I'm sure he'd like a woman. But I think he's maybe forgotten even what they look like, because he's stopped calling. He doesn't call at all anymore. He just runs around eating the seed dropped by the finches. But he seems quite happy, but I would like to get him a missus. This is the problem with my pets. I don't like to have only one sex. If I, you know, if I have a boy and then like, oh, he needs a girlfriend. So then I go and get another one, and then I put a nest box in, and before I know it, they're breeding. And Tom, hi Tom from Northern Ireland, or Thomas, sorry. Thank you for joining, and welcome to the chat. We've been going for an hour. I'm thinking about ending it shortly because obviously it is after 11 o'clock now. But welcome, and thank you for stopping by. Yeah, and quail. Yeah, so Brian's saying they're quail. Back on the quail, they'll eat the excessive overspills from seed sprays. Yeah, they're really good for eating all that spilt seed and keeping the aviary clear. So Thomas is saying, "Are you a gardener?" Yes, I am. So I have a tiny little. My dream is to have a big homestead, small holding. But at the moment, I'm just in the garden, a terrace house. About 45 square metre garden. So I'm a gardener. I do ornamental flowers, but also growing lots of your own veggies and stuff as well. I mean, really, if I was doing it properly homestead, I would take out all of the ornamental flowers, scrub everything, you know, Curtis style, and put down only veggies. But I like flowers too much. You grow avocados on your window. I must say, I've never tried avocados. I've tried eating avocados. I've never tried growing avocados before. I'd love to try because I do like an avocado. I know some people just think they're green mush, but I really, really like them. And Brian's saying, no, yeah, never get rid of your ornamentals. Robert's saying the same. I know. Well, thank you. Yeah, because I mean, I watch a lot of these homestead channels. These sort of urban farmer channels, and they are really inspirational about all the, you know, the produce they're producing, but their plots are literally fields and rows, which I completely understand is needed for, you know, for maximum, you know, efficiency of growing these crops. But I was brought up in a vicarage with an acre garden, which my mum was a devout gardener too, and we just had ornamental beds everywhere, and I can't be without ornamental beds. And when we move to the farm, I'm going to make sure that when we go in for planning permission with the house, we get a surrounding at least a little piece of surrounding land that is no longer classed as agricultural, so that I can actually put in a little bit of a garden as well to merge it into the landscape. Our souls do need flowers, Robert. I completely agree. And Thomas is saying he doesn't like growing flowers. He'd rather grow potatoes. Well, everybody's different. And I need to grow more potatoes. But I don't have a lot of space here. So next year, although there's still time, is there still time to do Christmas potatoes? If I'm quick, there might be. But I'm going to use tubs. So I'm going to put them in tubs, hopefully. And do some of those grow bagged potatoes. Not for selling, just for my own personal use. Because we're buying a lot of jacket potatoes for roasting, and I should be growing them. So Cat grows edible flowers. That's cool. What kind of edible flowers do you grow? Grow some garlic. Yep, garlic's really, really good. Again, I haven't really grown garlic this year in this garden just because of the resale value. You can buy garlic so cheaply, and I don't need a vast crop. But I am going to do just a few cloves of garlic over winter, just to use up a little space in the beds and to give me a personal supply, because we do use more and more garlic in the kitchen. And also I'm going to do some onions as well. Again, they're not a massive resale crop because they're so cheap, but there's nothing like harvesting your own onions and making one of those awesome onion plats and just hanging it up and keeping it. Cat is saying, so can you eat echinacea? I mean, I know you can buy echinacea capsules, but echinacea flowers, are they edible? I did not know this. Yes, and so marigolds, obviously, yeah, and sunflower, got tons of sunflowers. Can't wait to roast the sunflower seeds. But I did not know you could eat echinacea flowers. That's pretty cool. What do you want? That's the cat, obviously. But he makes that noise 24/7. And he has food in his bowl, but he's just not eating it. What's up? Do not wee down there. No. One moment. If you don't wheel the fireplace, we're in your box. The other day he got trapped in the living room, and so he decided to wheel in the fireplace. And I do not want it to become a habit. Why don't you come and say hello? Come here. Come here, buddy. Come here. Oh. Oh. Did you catch a glimpse of him? He's gone. I was gonna show you him. He's 17. No, he's 18. And he's a lovely cat, but he's completely deaf now. So he just meows constantly and does naughty things like wee in the fireplace. Sorry, no, so I've just missed all that chat. So cat says you can eat all sorts of things. Chamomile, yes. So you can use the petals in the tea. Echinacea petals you can use in tea. That's really cool. Where's he gone? What's the matter? He is a lovely cat. He's my last cat. I used to have 3. So he was my first ever cat, and he's my last, aren't you? He's my last remaining cat. He's called Marno. And he is lovely, but because of the deafness, there have been periods when he's woken me up every hour throughout the night. And our house is quite small, and there's no cat flap, so I can't really shut him in anywhere because he freaks out. There's no cat flap, so he has to be able to get to the litter tray. But he will sit at the bottom of the stairs and just meow and meow and meow. So I felt like I had a newborn baby in the house, to be honest. I was absolutely shattered some days because he just constantly went. But he's old. He's doing well for an old man. What did I say? He's 8, so he's 17. Yeah, so he's 17. So in cat years, he's what, in his 80s? Or maybe his 90s? And other than the deafness, he is perfectly fine. Very, completely, like, physically healthy. And mentally healthy as well. Our other cat went senile and we had to have her put to sleep. But he's really, really good. Robert says one of his cats goes potty in the shower. Actually, that's quite good. I've seen cats, you can train them to go on the toilet, can't you? By using this funny litter tray. I'd always be worried that they'd actually fall in and create a big mess. But going potty in the shower, especially if it's a wee, then you can just whoosh it away, which is kind of handy. I don't know where he's gone. Hopefully to his litter tray. Right, guys, it's almost 11:30. Well, 20 past 11. So I think we're going to wrap up. Thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure to see you all again and have a chat. As always, I really like our Saturday night meetups. I feel like I'm catching up with all of you from your past weeks, seeing how you're all doing. And it gives, my husband gets bored sometimes because I'm chatting so much at him and he's just like zoning me out. So it's good to have a chat with other people on the same wavelength. All around the world as well. So have a great evening, what's left of it. I'll be uploading, obviously, tomorrow. I'll be uploading the... I'm losing my train of thought. I'll be uploading the smallholding diaries from the week that has been. And don't forget, if you've got chickens and you want to get involved in chicken check-in, then please do. Just message me and I'll give you all the details. If you've got a YouTube channel, then obviously it's a collaboration and I can link your YouTube channel so people can go and have a look at it. But if you haven't got a YouTube channel, that's not a problem. We just want to be passionate about chickens and share the love. So if you do want to get involved in chicken check-in, just send me a message. So good night to all of you. So night, Kat, Petra, Brian, Robert, Alana. Kat, don't use the check-in video you sent you. Did you send me a chicken check-in video? I haven't received anything. Was it recently? I haven't received one. I won't use it. When was it? When did you send me one? Message me and we'll have a chat about it because I won't use it. Send me a new one, we'll sort it out. But yeah, have a great evening. If you are on Facebook, come and join the Brimwood Farms community group so we can chat throughout the week too. And I'll see you all again soon. Have a great night. Bye.